Just when I said this is a 13-page arc, we get more pages in this chapter. It's a miracle. You're too slow. That's what this chapter should have been called. In all seriousness, it's time for Tenya to take the MVP title from Juzo and show off his newest technique. The chapter continues the trend of everyone is getting a power-up, more or less, and Tenya is no exception. It also consists a build-up for the next person to rise. It's been ages since Tenya gets a spotlight, let alone development, so this is somewhat refreshing. It turns out his older brother is doing well, despite not being on hero's duty. It's better than death. In any case, it's done for the story of passing down the torch, and that's what his brother did. In the flashback, he was proud of his young brother for earning the hero license. With that said, it was time to pass the torch, or more like the muffler. With the technique that has passed down since his grandfather's time, it's time for Tenya to carry the mantle. You can say his development was taken care of off-panel, despite receiving a flashback. It would have been a nice, thorough scene to behold, but I digress. Bottom line, Tenya got a new technique, Recipro Turbo, and he can last for 10 minutes. Until it runs out, he's unstoppable. The technique is essentially going super fast. It appears somewhat anticlimactic, considering we have seen him going fast already, or more like it's been a while due to his lack of screen time. On the other hand, later on, he does appear to fly, so take that into consideration. It needed Deco to compare Gran Torino to him to establish how fast it really is. New technique seems to be more expansion rather than actual new approach. I can see people feeling spoiled from the days of Naruto, Bleach, or even One Piece where they're visually new. Anyway, I'm fine with the new technique. Tenya isn't used to it at first, so he goes a bit off course. Eventually, he grows accustomed to the speed. Just before he captures Juzo, he softens the ice and swim away. I'm surprised he can survive the blistering cold underwater. Then again, he has an armor, so it's fine. It's not the end for him, but you can expect him to be troublesome later on. I thought Tenya moments were cut short here, but there's one more part. Ogio is having it tough to defend the drills that somewhat don't penetrate his flesh. I only remembered recently that his tail is tough, so that would explain it. Sorry, it's been a while. It's a bit odd for someone to point out that he has changed a lot from the past, yet he's struggling like nothing has changed. Seems like a bad time to call out his improvement. Sen is all over him. So I suppose we have no time for Ogio to shine. Just when it looks like it was time for him to awaken, Tenya appears out of nowhere and snatches Sen in a second. More like snatching a possible development if you ask me. I don't know. It came off funny to me. Still, good for Tenya to save his comrade and capture a villain in the process. If he's going to carry the torch from his older brother, he's going to carry the ideal as well. Truly, he is committing and honoring his family's name. He should have gotten more spotlights before, but maybe in the future he will. For whatever reason, the scene shifts to 2 minutes ago, as if someone has unlocked the memory of a character and everyone is affected. It's a reference, don't worry about it. Anyway, perhaps there's a reason for it, and one can be said is for the build-up for the next person to shine. Shoto and Tetsu square off as the latter is basically invulnerable. He can break through ice, so fire should be a fine option, right? Just before Shoto can be at ease, it doesn't work as well. Now he is all boiling hot. Supposedly he's all red. I guess he is like Krishna in terms of design. The setup is pretty obvious for Shoto to unleash his new technique. He happened to fight against a guy who can technically absorb fire. Tetsu constantly points out himself as the worst opponent for him. Lastly, he made it abundantly clear that no fire of Shoto can harm him. That's straight up asking for a new power. Call it a coincidence for remembering that technique before the battle began, but it has to start somewhere. I sort of wish it was kept as an element of surprise. If you're still wondering how significant that flashback is, Shoto remembers again about that technique. The chapter ends with a clear sign of agreement. In other words, Shoto is going to unleash it. It could end up like Tenya, whereas it's only a beginning stage, so there's room for improvement. My only concern is if the technique will be visually different. I blame my friends to have me going back to Naruto's time, and remember, despite the hiccups and all, visually, it was intense. Can this series do something similar? We'll have to wait and see. I enjoyed this chapter. Tenya got the most needed spotlight after a long period of time, not even exaggerating here. While I wish his moment was done elsewhere, it still fit in to exploit his progress behind the scene. The new technique is neat, even if it is basically faster, there's more that it can be utilized. It's time for Shoto to cook up his technique. It certainly has the most build out of everyone. Actually, he's the only one. In any case, I hope it's cool. No pun intended. And that will do it for the review. I hope you enjoyed this one. I wonder if this 15-page or was it 16-page chapter can happen again next time. Or maybe it's just a rare occasion, but who knows. I'm just hoping he's in a good condition. What do you think of the chapter? What kind of visual you expect Shoto's new power up? Share your thoughts in the comment section. If you like this and want more of this, subscribe to my channel and my world will be yours to stay. Until next time, take care.